Yo, shout out to Sticks.
Heyo.
Wave hi, Sticks.
Grinding in the background.
Like
No,
he's
got the big phones on.
He's got the big cans on right now. Are those Beats by Dre Sticks? Thank you.
Thank you, Sticks.
Good.
Yeah.
Welcome in, everybody. It's After Drill, Pete.
Yeah, Drew.
Glad to have you here. Sticks slamming home that sweet tea. You may
Sweet
have diabetes by the end of the show.
Nothing like sweet
but
tea and
it's worth it.
Doritos at 10:40 in the morning.
It's the brunch of champions, my friend.
It's such a Sticks move.
It really is. now you realize what we're talking about.
Branding. He said
Finally.
stroke a check.
Nacho.
Spicy nacho Doritos.
Nacho
They were probably out of fiery hot Cheetos. Stick up with Plan B to the spicy Doritos. Gotta have that cheese and heat combo.
Some hot fries.
Sure, right. Oh my goodness. What a wild day today on the drill. Busy. Of course, it was Thursday, so we caught up with Doc Murphy and also our friend Riley Skinner. For the college football weekend.
Riley Skinner, what's he up to nowadays?
I really don't know.
Okay.
He's on with us every Thursday. I'm not sure if he has a job.
Riley Skinner is?
Yeah.
Huh.
Every Thursday.
Didn't even know that.
Former ACC Player of the Year.
Yeah. Did they win they won the ACC title, didn't they, Awake, or did they lose to
I think they lost the
Tech
title.
or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Virginia? It was a terrible game, I remember.
There's been many terrible ACC title games. You have to be more specific.
Is fair.
And there's another one this year.
Yes.
With Clemson Pitt, which should just be a bloodbath.
Should be fun.
In Charlotte, it should be really bad. That being said, though,
other good games though.
They were talking about the SEC title game, which at least on paper looks like it could be a good game. Although the question was posed, and I'll ask you as well. As a betting man, would you be scared of the 13.5 points?
No.
No? You think Bam will cover it?
I think if it was
in the end.
I think if it was 14.5, I'd be a little concerned about that reverse. That hook is always what scares you.
Yeah.
I think Bama can win by 2 TDs.
So does Las Vegas.
Yeah. Right. No, I wouldn't be afraid of it because I've always said kind of about Georgia this whole year. They're like, this is the fact that they've gone 11-1 and what I kind of see as like their bridge team to get to another like elite team. Like this team isn't as good as they were a year ago, and the team they're going to have next year is going to be better than the team they had a year ago.
Right.
So the fact that they're still 11-1 and they're still in the SEC title game again, I think that's props to them. But I don't think they're really. I don't think they're going to beat Bama. No.
No, we talked about the Big 12 title game yesterday, and we feel pretty confident, both of us, that Texas is in trouble.
By the way, I guess the Big 12 came out and said that this will be a flag.
Well, they said they're going to be like symptomatic or situational.
It's like
if it's taunting with the horns down, they're not going to taunt.
Okay, like if you score a touchdown, is that taunting?
Yeah, I don't know how in any way when you give the horns down gesture it's not taunting.
Like,
so I'm not sure when they don't call it.
Tyreek Hill against the Rams got a flag for doing this, and he does that every touchdown, and it's like never been flagged.
Right,
and then all of a sudden they're like, flag. Maybe it's because he did it so close to the guy's face.
Maybe.
It's like when Telvin pointed at Le'Veon as he was scoring the touchdown.
Right.
And got fined for it.
Who knows? Referees are, what's the word I'm looking for? Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible at their jobs.
Yeah.
Just in general. But, I feel like, we keep breaking down the scenarios, but I feel like you said, ultimately when it shakes out, Georgia's probably going to lose. Oklahoma and Ohio State are probably going to win. Now, Jeff seems to think that should Ohio State and Oklahoma both win, that he believes that the committee would leapfrog them. I don't think that's.
I don't see that.
I think when they ranked them the way they did, they set the table. I don't know how you can reverse that.
I agree.
I don't see how you can go back on that.
Like we were talking about, like if chaos happened, right, and we said you had to go with either like Michigan or UCF, you could argue at least there then that the committee set the table because they put Michigan ahead of UCF, already coming off that Ohio State loss and UCF still being undefeated. And then your flip side argument could at least be, if you wanted to say that they're going to flip UCF over them, would be, well, they'll be a conference champion. Again, I don't know how much of a bump they'd give them for beating Memphis in the American Conference title game. But nonetheless, at least there'd be some like disparity there. Like Ohio State and Oklahoma Oklahoma's loss is much better than Ohio State's. They're playing a top 15 team in the title game. Ohio State's playing Northwestern, a solid team, but they got 4 losses.
Right.
I think they're 21st.
I mean, they're a team that can beat Ohio State.
Sure.
If everything goes right, but it doesn't seem likely.
But I don't see how, if Oklahoma beats a better team in a conference, a Power 5 conference title game, with a better loss than what Ohio State has, and quite frankly has looked better than Ohio State most of the year, I don't see how Ohio State would leapfrog, because again, I get the branding thing, but it's not like Oklahoma's a small brand.
Right. They were just in the playoffs.
It's not like we're talking about the Pac-12 title game and Washington State's at 4.
Right.
Then I could see maybe you could see your argument, because they'd be like, oh my God, how many Washington State fans?
The Boomer Sooners coming off a playoff appearance, and they've got a Heisman candidate.
Yeah.
They're just as purebred, thoroughbred program as Ohio State is right now.
Yeah.
So that's a tough one. I
mean,
it would be
especially by the way, coming off. I mean, what was double OT loss on the Rose Bowl? It's not like they've gone into the playoff and proven that they're going to compete and put up. Like people like to watch Oklahoma play. Like they're an entertaining team to watch.
I think Oklahoma-Bama would be a fun game.
I would. By the way,
because they play that style that Alabama has.
I'd much rather see Oklahoma-Bama than Ohio State-Bama, personally.
Yeah. And Clemson Notre Dame will just be an absolute bloodletting, if you ask me. But and hopefully, because
Beef hates Notre Dame.
I hate Notre Dame. I hate them anyways. And then there's this dude on our text line who's the biggest psycho Notre Dame apologist who makes me just hate him even more. It's like the UCF fans who've made us hate UCF. This Notre Dame guy has taken my Notre Dame hatred and sprayed gasoline on it. Now it's like an out-of-control fire of hatred for Notre Dame. Sticks knows what I'm talking about.
Jags are drafting Mike McGlinchey.
Mike McGlinchey. Going to move up to number 10 and get Mike McGlinchey. It's got a source. That was way too inside football. Hello, everyone. Glad to have you here. As for the Jags, it's officially if you want to call it, the Cody Kessler era.
Yeah.
It may be a 5-game era, maybe a 1-game era. I don't know, man. Cody Kessler goes out there Sunday and craps the bed. Would it shock you if they went back to Blake Bortles in 2 weeks?
It wouldn't shock me if Cody Kessler went out there and potentially died behind that offensive line.
That might also happen.
I mean,
Blake might have to play because of death to Cody Kessler. All joking aside, though, Cody Kessler is not elusive in the pocket, which is weird for like a 6-foot-tall guy. Usually those guys can move a little bit. He's not that guy.
No.
And so he's playing behind a really banged-up offensive line, and he may be in trouble.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for all intents and purposes, the Blake Bortles era is over, and I don't think Cody Kessler, unless he plays lights out for 5 games and puts himself in position to be retained as a bridge guy, because, we talked about that this morning on the show, too. They're going to draft a quarterback now, probably in the first round, you would think. Unless they've got their, party eye emojis for a guy they like in the second or third round. But you can't bank on that, man.
Like I said, I have absolutely no problem with them starting Cody Kessler at this point. But all the people who have been begging for him, thinking it's going to make some...
It's not going to make a lick of difference.
He sucks.
Not a lick. He's not a good quarterback. He's just as bad as Blake Bortles is. He just does it a little differently.
He throws a spiral.
Yeah,
so
he throws the ball a little bit
oh my God.
But he also, like you said, he also can't get away from trouble, which is one of the few things Blake does very well.
It's like this one guy on Twitter was trying to hammer me because he was going on and on about how it's not really Blake's fault. And I'm just kind of wondering if he watches the football games. And then I made a joke, and it was a joke, but there's also a tad bit of seriousness to it, and I said, my 13-year-old brother throws a better ball at times than Blake Bortles, and you've seen the boy King throw a football. I mean, it's a spiral.
Yeah.
He throws a spiral.
He throws a nice spiral.
And look, I'm just saying, some of the balls that come out of Blake Bortles' hands are like sidewinders. And
Dude, he had one, man, that looked like end over end when it came out of his hand. It was crazy. It looked like a shot put.
Yeah.
Look, and I don't understand. I get a lot of this, too, from calls and the text line. I don't understand from the Blake Stan people why it has to be one or the other. Like, it can't be
you have to,
everybody sucks right now.
Look, honestly, it's just use your eyes. I was on the Blake train for a while. I'm off. I've gotten off. I got off.
I get so many calls and texts from people saying it's not Blake, it's the receivers and the offensive line. I don't disagree. It is also those things, but that doesn't make Blake not terrible. Blake is terrible.
Yeah, he's still awful.
We're 5 years in. In 2018, where guys are throwing obscene passing percentages. Blake in his last handful of games is averaging 52%. It's unacceptable in the current NFL. It's unacceptable.
Like, don't get me wrong. It's infuriating when I see an actually well-thrown ball go off O'Shaughnessy's hands and be a pick and lose us the game.
That's frustrating.
But that's one play out of his 30 throws a game that are all awful.
Right. P.S. There's just as many throws where unless the receiver's arms were 11 feet long, they wouldn't be in range to be caught because they're so inaccurately thrown.
Yeah.
So you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
Look, I don't disagree that the offensive line's been bad. The receivers are bad. The running backs haven't been a lot of help catching the ball outside of some flare plays from T.J. Yeldon.
By the way,
but he's dropped balls too, and so he hasn't had a lot of help, but he's just as culpable. And unfortunately, we're 5 years in with a guy who at this point is bad. He's a bad quarterback. It is what it is.
Hey, Leonard, don't tweet your stats out, you numbnut. What are you doing, man?
I don't know what Leonard's doing. I like Leonard. Like, I want to root for
Leonard.
Leonard.
Wish I was healthy all year. How about you don't go two-piece a guy on a player not even in the game, Leonard, to be playing this week? What do you do? What do you mean?
Yeah, this is not the time to do it.
Man.
He
is so out of touch. It's kind of unbelievable.
Yeah, there seems to be a level of I don't know if it's awareness or if it's a byproduct of just being young and you see this with guys in all sports when you're the young guy and it sort of has always gone right. You know, you've always been kind of the man at every level. That sometimes there's a maturity process with learning how to handle adversity because you haven't dealt with it.
It happens on every level. Like every kid who goes and plays a sport in college, you were probably, especially at a D1 level, you were the man at your high school.
You were the man. You were a peewee. You were a man in high school. You were the man at your university.
So then all of a sudden you're going again. You look around and all these 35 kids around you, they're all just as good as you, and you're like, what the hell?
Right.
And then you go from college, you go to pros. You were the man at your college, like Leonard was, obviously. And he made the comment after game one, the NFL's a lot easier than I thought it would be. Well,
you know, and Sunday, until he got his dumbass thrown out of the game, he made the NFL look like it was a lot easier than he thought it was going to be. But the problem is, I worry about the mental side of it. I think, you know, it'll come with time, but like Tony Baselli said when he was on with us, at some point when you're running 60 yards across the field from the sideline to go fight a guy, at some point, does the light bulb not go off?
Like Leonard, you can
always say, "Wow, this is a bad idea."
You can always stop and turn around, bud.
Right.
It's not like once you take that first step, you got to finish what you started.
I get it, Charles. I like his passion too. Not ripping it. It's the same thing I love about Jalen Ramsey. People get mad about his mouth and they get mad about his antics on the field. I don't get mad about those things.
At least Jalen plays, though.
That's part of the fire. That's part of the fire. And that's the same thing with Leonard. There's a fire burning. It's the passion is there, and I appreciate it. But
you talk about Ramsey all you want. He's not. There are no plays he makes in football games other than mistakes that happen where he makes that hurts the football team. Like, he's not an idiot. He doesn't go out there and punch people. It doesn't slam. He got ejected against the Bengals for it was BS. I mean, he got in AJ Green's head and AJ Green slammed him and he did nothing and he got ejected for it. I mean, Ramsey doesn't do boneheaded things. Like, yeah, he talks a lot, but at the end of the day, if that's what helps him be a top 5 corner, let him talk.
Right. Well, it's the same thing with Leonard. I love the fire from Leonard. I love him, flagging on, homeboy in Pittsburgh and trucking him. Yeah. It's great. I love it.
Yes.
And that's the same passion that led him to go fight those guys. After the game, he said, "That's my brothers, and that's how I grew up. If my brothers are in a fight, I'm going to go protect them." But there's
my only gripe with his brother's comment.
They're not being mugged on the street.
There was no fight, first off.
Right.
They shoved each other once.
They're grown men in football pants.
He's like, well, my brothers are in date. Like, you ain't at war, Leonard.
Right. Yeah. You didn't see your little brother out on the sidewalk getting jumped by 3 dudes and you went out there to protect his ass. They're grown men in pads shoving each other. There's no reason for you to run across the field.
I mean, for all we know, Carlos Hyde might be able to whoop you. I don't think he needs your help. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
I think he was just fine.
Right. You know, it's just look. I mean, Jeff Prosser said it best. It's dumb. It was not. It was dumb. It wasn't smart. It was passionate. It was fiery. It was all those things, but it was also dumb.
Yeah.
Both those things apply. You can be passionate and also be stupid.
Same thing about Blake. You know, it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
And doesn't have to be all or nothing. It can be a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Blake is well, unless it's Blake, he's 100% bad.
He's 100%.
But also, you know, but it's not 100% his fault. But he is 100% terrible.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. You know, and now the question becomes, who do they target? You know, does Kessler show enough in the last 5 games to be a viable bridge option to a young guy? Oh. Maybe. Or do you go... Because here's the problem. If you cut Blake, you've got that albatross of the cap figure. So it's like, how much money can you go spend on a quarterback as a bridge starter?
Let me say this. Without seeing Kessler even start a football game. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame... I mean... Literally, if you make the same mistake an off-season later that you made with Bortles and you go, Kessler can be our bridge guy, you are an idiot. You're an idiot, man. Well, and I also said the fool me thing wrong, but I don't care. You get the idea. You've all heard it 1,000 times. The bottom line is that if you go into an off-season and think to yourself, Kessler can be our starter for a full year, you're making the same mistake you just made with Blake.
Charles brings up a name that I've gotten a lot of calls about, and I understand why, because he's having a monster year and also the connection from Florida. Will Grier is having a tremendous year for West Virginia, but let's pump the brakes on Will Grier a little bit, okay? Look, everybody and their mother puts up numbers in the Big 12. No one plays a lick of defense in the Big 12. Everybody posts numbers. And every receiver is wide-ass open in the Big 12. You don't have to hit windows. You don't have to make throws. You just got to put it in the neighborhood. And you're going to post crazy numbers in the Big 12. Will Grier might end up being a fine pro quarterback, but he's not even the top prospect in this draft. He's not even considered a first-round prospect in this draft. He's behind Haskins. He's behind Locke. He's behind Herbert. So there's lots of guys who are considered ahead of Will Grier. I like Will Grier, but I'm not sitting here salivating at the prospect of adding Will Grier.
It's like what I told Florida fans, after I think his last game was the game against Ole Miss, where they blew Ole Miss out. And that seems to be all Gator fans remember him for. And what I remind them is that he really wasn't that good at Florida. Granted, he's a freshman, but you won off some fluke against Kentucky at Kentucky. He had nobody lined up over the receiver. He threw a touchdown late. I think they won 14-9 or something like that. You were down by 2 scores to Tennessee at home. You won off a blown coverage by Tennessee. And granted, he played well in the 4th quarter. But really, when you think of the Will Grier era at Florida, he tore it up the one game against Ole Miss, and everything else before that was mediocre. But I knew when he went to the Big 12, like you said, no one plays defense.
Right.
He's going to tear it up, and all of a sudden he'd be the second coming. But
look, for every Baker Mayfield, there's a Blaine Gabbert out of the Big 12. You know.
That's, by the way, that's another good point. You bring up Treon Harris. I want everybody to remember one thing. There was a big-time quarterback battle between Will Grier and Treon Harris, and Treon Harris initially won that quarterback battle, just so everybody knows.
Now, again, like you said, Grier was a freshman.
Right.
He's come a long way.
He's better.
And he's looked terrific at West Virginia.
He could be a really good NFL quarterback.
He could. But you know who else lit the world on fire at West Virginia?
Plenty of people.
Gino lit the world on fire at West Virginia.
Pat White.
I mean, dudes put up numbers at West Virginia. Let's slow our roll a little bit. Nothing against Will Grier.
I'd take him if he was there in the second and we had taken a quarterback. I'd have no problem.
Man, I loved Baker Mayfield coming out of Oklahoma. Loved him, and I was hoping that he'd slide and be in a position where the Jacks could get him, but he just skyrocketed up the board and ended up being the number 1 pick. I was really hopeful that he'd be like a mid to late first round guy that maybe they could bump up and grab him and stash him for a year.
His rise was kind of wild.
It was wild, man. But look at how he's playing now. It's obviously
he had something.
He was the man.
Yeah,
he was the man. And I liked again, like the conversation we had about Leonard and the conversation we had about Jalen, I like that Baker Mayfield walks around with his nuts hanging out and he talks trash and he's not afraid and he is who he is. I love that kind of player. That's why I love Jalen Ramsey. That's why I like Leonard Fournette. That's why I'm frustrated by Leonard Fournette being so dumb with this fight, because I appreciate the passion, but you have to be able to corral it.
Washington State's QB Minshew? Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, that's a hard pass there. Hard pass there.
They run an air raid offense, dude.
Yeah. Let me know which Pirate QB has gone on to great success in the NFL. I'll wait.
Yeah, I'm all right. By the way, really quick before we wrap things up, big win for the Noles over the Boilermakers last night.
That was a good win. Hey, man, for real. In the ACC Big Ten Challenge,
we're up 44-28. Purdue goes on a 30-7 run. They were hitting. I mean, this white kid hit like 8 threes with hands in his face, fadeaways. It was unbelievable.
I got to ask you, because Prosser went on, before he ranted about members of the local media, he went on a different rant earlier in the show against Florida State's aqua or turquoise.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't really like them either.
Yeah.
Now they're not.
Prosser said they're dumb.
They're not new. They've
had
them
for a few years, but
I don't get them either.
No, it's is it Native American?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. Like my dad asked me as well if there's like some kind of I don't know if there's anything behind it. I as far as I know, I think they might be the only sport who does it. Softball might do it maybe. But
Williams says that's what players like Fournette, Mayfield, and Ramsey do in general. They make dumb penalties. You're going to have to remind me of all the dumb penalties that Jalen's been rung up for. I don't remember.
He hasn't had it.
I don't remember Baker Mayfield getting a lot of dumb penalties. They're fiery dudes, and they talk a lot of shit, but I don't see them getting a lot of penalties.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You got to know where the line is, and that was the problem with Leonard. Sunday, in particular. Other time, I love Leonard, man. I love Leonard dropping the bomb on guys. I love the fire that Leonard plays with. I love the trash he talks when guys try to bring him down and he runs it on them. I love the trash he runs on his own teammates on his Instagram. Leonard Fournette's Instagram is gold, by the way. It's worth a follow. But yeah, you got to know where the wall is. You got to know where you got to pump the brakes, and that's something Leonard's going to have to figure out because he's frustrating people. He's frustrating people both inside and outside the organization. And, the little word that came out yesterday was because of the suspension, it actually gave the opportunity for the Jaguars to void his guarantee
$7 million
on his contract, which I'm not saying they would do that, but if I'm the Jaguars, based on how he's been performing and been
just go to him and say, Leonard, we need to save this $7 million so we can cut Bortles.
Right. I mean, it's something that you at least consider.
Why does this happen at the end of every show?
I don't know.
It's like a timer.
I agree, Carlos. I love that he cares. I love that they all care. I love the guy. You can see the guys that are balling out, the guys that are still playing well are the guys that care. They're out there grinding. Who cares? Calais cares. Yannick cares. Jalen cares. Leonard cares. Those dudes are out there balling out. Blake cared. He just sucks.
Yeah.
And Drew just shrunk again.
I shrunk again.
But yeah, I love the passion. I love the fire. What QB do y'all want? I wanted Baker Mayfield. But no, in all seriousness, I don't know.
Man, it's like
the draft QBs, I don't know. I guess Herbert, because I feel like I'm not sold on Haskins, and I feel like Locke's a bit of a project. I think Herbert's the most ready to come in and play. I think he's the most ready to come in and contribute, or the shortest learning curve to be ready to go. I think it's Herbert. So I guess it'd be Herbert.
I just really haven't dove into it yet.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna be honest. I think even when we all dive into it, I don't think anybody's gonna like too much what they find.
Look, hey, and look, to that end, let's be fair, okay? A couple years ago, we thought we were looking at an absolute horse crap QB crop, and that was the year that
Goff and Wentz
went 1 and 2.
Yeah,
and they're the bomb.com.
They seem pretty good.
So, and we thought we had a really, really, really nice QB crop a couple years before that when Winston and Mariota went 1-2, and they suck.
Here's what I've come to find about the NFL. It's especially at the quarterback position. It is so much about fit and scheme and coaching. I mean, look at Goff. Goff was awful this first year.
Carlos asked, "Can we trade Bortles?" No, we can't trade Bortles.
Who wants
Here's the problem.
For what?
Because of the extension. Nobody's going to, I don't care how low the draft pick is, no one is taking on the remainder of the contract.
We'd have to eat
They're
all,
not
the whole
doing
contract.
I get it.
I still don't know any team who would trade for him unless they're trying to.
If you wanted to trade Bortles, you'd have to trade Bortles and your first. It'd be like, we'll give you our first, like Houston did when they got rid of Osweiler and got rid of Osweiler's contract. They gave up Osweiler and a first to get nothing back, to get out from underneath it. That's the type of deal you'd have to make. But I mean, the Jags are going to be picking, 7th, 8th, hell, first. You're not going to add that pick to Blake to get out from underneath him. You're going to eat the 16 mil and take a guy. Unfortunately, that's the situation we're in. The extension has ended up being a huge albatross, and it sucks. But that's the position we're in, and it's going to cost some guys their jobs, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Malik Jackson's probably going to be gone. Barry Church probably going to be gone.
To be fair,
Marcel Darius probably going to be gone. Calais Campbell might be gone.
Barry Church has been gone regardless.
This is true.
Awful.
Barry Church has not been good. He's not been good. He struggled. But Ronnie Harrison's been in the doghouse too, so it's like, who's going to... Yeah, but I think Ronnie Harrison is the de facto guy there, unless they draft a dude. But yeah, it seems like he'll at least get that crack.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. They've got to trim some cash figures on the defensive side of the ball to push it to the offense. They've got to spend money there. Okay, that's fair. Williams says not specifically Jalen and Leonard and those guys, but players like that. Like Dante. Yeah, Dante was that guy. Dante didn't know when to stop and did dumb things and got penalized. Don't be Dante, Leonard. Don't be Dante. Be Jalen. Be Jalen. Be Baker Mayfield. Run your mouth. Run it on the field. Run it at your opponents. You gotta go to the line. Stick your toes up over the line just a little bitty bit, but do not cross it, because you get ejected from a game, you get suspended, you hurt your team. You cost them a game last week against Buffalo, and I don't know if it will cost them Sunday against Indy. I'm not sure they were going to win either way, but it certainly hurts, especially now that it looks like Jalen may not play. You're starting your backup quarterback, and Leonard's out. It's a hot mess. It's not a good scene at TIAA Bank Field. But I'll be there. Going to the game, taking the Petite to his first ever Jaguar game. I picked a winner for his first time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Plenty of good seats available. All right, good kids. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Love you.